Think about the most interesting person you know in real life, not online, in real life. The one whose opinion you actually trust. The one who walks into a room and something shifts. The one who knows things, real things, about you, about people, about how the world actually works. Now go to their Instagram, nothing, or almost nothing, and then go to the person who posts 3 times a day, every meal, every gym session, every sunset, and ask yourself honestly, when was the last time that person said something that changed how you think? Psychology has been studying this gap for years now, and what they found is not what most people expect. The people who stay silent online, the ones you almost forget exist until you see them in person, are almost always operating at a level that the loudest people in your feed will never reach. This is not an opinion. This is a psychological profile. And if you have always quietly felt that posting everything was somehow not for you, by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why, and you will never apologize for it again. What is actually happening inside the brain of someone who stays completely silent online is more fascinating than you think. 1. Let's start with the most fundamental thing. The reason most people post, and I mean this with zero judgment, is that it feels good when someone responds. A like, a comment, a share, a reaction. That response triggers a dopamine release in the brain, the same chemical that makes gambling addictive, the same one that makes you check your phone 30 seconds after you just checked it. Psychologists call this variable reward conditioning. You don't know when the next like is coming, so your brain keeps checking, keeps refreshing, keeps posting to generate the next hit. Now here's the fascinating part. The people who don't post, the ones this video is about, their brains have not stopped needing dopamine. They are human. They need it too. But somewhere, somehow, they found a way to generate it internally. Psychologists call this self-validation. The ability to feel good about your life without requiring someone else to confirm it. They had a great meal. They don't need 40 people to know. The meal was still great. They hit a personal goal. They don't announce it. The achievement is still real. They went somewhere beautiful. They put the phone away. The moment is still theirs. What makes this psychologically remarkable is this. Most people believe confidence is about not caring what others think. But the people who never post, they have taken it one step further. They don't need others to see them to feel real. And that specific thing is one of the rarest forms of inner security that psychology has ever documented. But here is what nobody tells you. Staying quiet online is not free. It comes with a very specific cost. And understanding that cost changes everything. 2. Here is something nobody talks about honestly. Attention has a price, not a financial price, a psychological one. Every time you share something publicly, you are opening a transaction with every person who sees it. Some of them will react warmly. Some will judge silently. Some will compare your highlight to their reality. Some will screenshot and send it to someone with a comment you will never see. And your nervous system registers all of it, even the silence, even the post that gets 12 likes when you expected 40, even the one that performs great, but the comments say something slightly off. Psychologists call this social exposure stress, the ongoing low-grade anxiety of being publicly visible, of knowing your life is being processed by dozens, hundreds, or thousands of people whose opinions and reactions you have absolutely no control over. The people who don't post, they have made a calculation, not consciously necessarily, but somewhere they decided the peace of being unseen is worth more than the hit of being validated. And what they discovered on the other side of that decision is something extraordinary. Ausbreakers, when you stop broadcasting your life, you start actually living it. The meal tastes different when you are not photographing it. The conversation goes deeper when nobody is performing for the camera. The experience becomes fully yours when it is not simultaneously curated for an audience. One study found that people who took a week off social media reported significantly higher levels of life satisfaction. Not because their life got better, but because they stopped measuring their life against everyone else's edited version of theirs. The people who never post figured this out without needing the study. And once you hear what they are actually doing with all that recovered time and energy, you will understand why silence is not absence. Silence is strategy. 3. This is the part that might be the most important thing in this entire video. There is a word in psychology called deep work. Coined by researcher Cal Newport, it describes the state of focus, uninterrupted, highly productive cognitive effort that produces things of real value. Deep work is increasingly rare, not because people are less intelligent, because the same platforms designed to capture your attention are also designed to prevent the sustained focus that deep work requires. Every notification is an interruption. Every scroll is a context switch. Every post you create requires planning, capturing, editing, captioning, posting, and then monitoring. That is cognitive labor, real cognitive labor. spent on something that disappears in 48 hours. Now consider the person who does none of that. They have that time, that focus, that cognitive bandwidth every single day. The people who are not posting, they are building, they are creating, they are practicing, they are learning, they are compounding quietly in a direction that will not announce itself until it cannot be ignored. There is a specific type of person who appears to disappear from your social feed for a year and then resurfaces in a way that shocks everyone who knew them. New skill, new business, new life, new level. That disappearance was not a breakdown. That was a construction. And the silence was not absence. The silence was focus. But the deepest reason these people operate differently, it is not a choice they made. It is how their brain is actually built. And psychology has a very specific name for it. 4. Here is the clinical picture. Research on what psychologists call self-concept clarity. How clearly and consistently a person knows who they are shows a striking pattern. People with high self-concept clarity are significantly less likely to seek external validation. They already know what they think. They already know what they value. They already know who they are becoming. They do not need the audience to reflect that back to them. Psychologists also call this internal locus of control, the belief that your life is shaped primarily by your own choices and effort, not by what other people think, say, or do. People with a strong internal locus of control consistently outperform those with an external one on almost every measure of long-term success and happiness. They are less anxious, less reactive, less dependent on outcomes they cannot control. And research consistently shows they post less, not because they are less social, not because they have less to say, but because they measure themselves by a standard they set, not a standard the algorithm rewards. The scroll confirms nothing for them. The likes change nothing for them. The comments add nothing to their sense of who they are, because that sense was already complete before they picked up the phone. And here is the final piece. What these people actually see when they open social media is completely different from what you see, and once you hear it, you cannot unsee it either. 5. There is one more thing. The people who don't post have usually seen something clearly that takes most people years to notice. Social media is not a mirror. It is a performance stage. Every post is a choice, a selection, an edit. The beautiful photo was taken 37 times. The candid moment was posed. The vulnerable caption was rewritten 4 times to be exactly vulnerable enough. The just woke up photo has 3 layers of filtering. None of this is criticism. This is just how the system works. But the person who sees this clearly, truly clearly, cannot unsee it. They look at a feed and do not see reality. They see curation. They see effort. They see the gap between what is being presented and what is actually being lived. Psychologists call this media literacy combined with social comparison immunity, the ability to observe the performance without being affected by it. And once you have it, once you genuinely cannot scroll without seeing the construction behind every post, staying quiet online stops being a sacrifice. It becomes the obvious choice. Why would you perform for an audience that you know is also performing? And this brings us to the one thing I need you to hear before this video ends, because it changes how you see yourself completely. Here is what I want you to understand. If you have always felt slightly outside the world of social media, if posting has never felt natural to you, if you have sometimes felt like something was wrong with you because you just do not care about building an online presence, psychology is not diagnosing you with anything. Psychology is describing someone with a fully formed internal world, high self-concept clarity, strong internal locus of control, immunity to social comparison, and the cognitive bandwidth to build something real while everyone else is documenting theirs. You are not behind. You are just not performing in the place where most people measure. And that difference between building and performing, between living and documenting, between privacy and insecurity is not widely understood, but it is widely felt by every person watching this video right now who recognized themselves in the first 30 seconds and has been watching quietly ever since. You don't need to post this video, but I think you know someone who needs to see it. There is one more thing about the psychology of people who stay quiet online, something that goes deeper than confidence, deeper than self-awareness, deeper than preference. It is connected to a specific trait that psychologists have only recently started measuring, a trait that shows up in people who prefer depth over breadth in every area of their life, not just online, in friendships, in conversations, in how they love. That trait has a name, and once you hear it, you will understand not just why you don't post, you will understand the way you move through every room you have ever walked into. That is the next video.